Rachel, can you hear us?
I can.
Okay, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing today?
I am good. This is day 3, and I'm so excited about what we're going to talk about together. So, I will start by talking about the value that you are talking about, giving a few words about yourself so that we know who you are. And then we're going to dive in the topic of your value. So, the value that Rachel has chosen is family. And I was actually surprised to see that not so many women chose family. Like you were the first and the only one. So I was really excited that you chose that value. The title of Rachel's speech today is Career Driven and Family Oriented, Value Driven Leadership. That's what we're going to talk about. Now, a few words about Rachel. So, Rachel is the mother of 8 children and the owner and CEO of More Connected Communications, a public relations and communication strategy firm. Rachel spends most of her career working with Jewish nonprofit organizations and Israel Public Advocacy. Now, I'll say also, we just spoke about the whole organization, our nonprofit, the conference, that Rachel is also in the speakers committee with Sharon. She's helping us get amazing speakers and have amazing women come join the conference. So I'm so excited to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you so
here.
much. It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Yes. So let's start with the first question that I asked every speaker, which is why did you choose family as a Jewish value? And by the way, while you're answering, I would love all the women in the chat to type also how is this value resonating with you while Rachel is answering. So why did you choose this value out of all the values that were available to you?
So I chose it for a few reasons. One, part of my work on communications with clients is to encourage them to find their unique selling point. What is it that they bring that is unique about them that they bring to the table as an employee, as a service provider to work with? And it's definitely a part of what I consider my professional identity. The fact that my family is so central to what I do and who I am is not separate from my career. It's a part of who defines me as a professional and why a client should choose my firm over someone else. And we'll get into that more. But also because you, in building this beautiful summit, challenged us to come up with what we think are values that are deeply Jewish and also women's leadership. And I think that this is so singular. In fact, when you say you were surprised that more people didn't choose it, we're told from a male leadership perspective that there's family over here and career leadership over here. And what we bring that's so special and beautiful to the table as women is to say, no, they are not. And everything that I have developed as a skill as a parent is a part of what I bring to your company. And that the centrality of my family as a value to me is part of what makes me an asset to your company. And
Wow.
we are gifted in bringing that into the workforce. We have to frame it in a way that's consistent and professional. But I think that it speaks very deeply to exactly the heart of what I think you were trying to build here, which is why I chose it.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. I love that you're saying that, the masculine leadership, and again, we're saying again, masculine and feminine don't mean men and women. I know some women also who are separating totally their family from their work, and some men who are not. So we're not talking about men and women, but the masculine leadership is very much about separating the two. And like, I even know, I think I was like that at some point, that, when I was in my corporate job, you couldn't even talk about your children at work. Like, it wasn't really proper because, you want to speak about only professional things. You don't want to say that you were up all night because your kid had a nightmare, or you don't want to say, well, if the kid was sick, you had to, but you had to hide it, or you had to make it small. Now,
and we have an opportunity to set a different paradigm. And that's part of what I want to talk about. As a business owner, I encourage the people who work to me to let the rest of the team know when family life and children impacted their productivity, and let us carry the weight so we could do it for them. And we have the opportunity to bring that as a model into the workforce. It's our gift. It's our mission to bring. And I also want to say that there are people who may or may not be listening who don't are not at the stage of their life where they're raising a family.
Right.
And that's why I said value-driven leadership. I just think it's important to mention, not everybody's religious, not everybody's secular, not everybody has a family. Deciding that who you are as an entire person and what matters to you most, and advocating for that and using it as a selling point at work translates beyond just children. It's really cool of whatever it is that's important to us and the things that we need to consider non-negotiables in order to be our best selves as a professional.
Definitely. I so agree with you. And of course, some women on the call here or, even in the world are not necessarily, mothers yet, or, that's a choice or that's where they are. And it's really about being yourself, like you said, being your most amazing self and bringing that to the workforce. And I see here that who is saying that? Gail is saying, I had worked for a woman who actually said clients come first over her family. Really? And she left that firm, right? So yeah, you have to make choices. And I think that we didn't speak about that in terms of values. Well, we spoke with Dalia about choices, but I think being a leader is really making choices. It's really like saying yes to this and no to that. And it's up to us to say no or yes to what we're being offered. But there is something that you said in your talking points that I really think is so true. You said having it all is a myth. And I think that us women, we might be mothers or have families or know what our priorities are, but we also want to have it all. We also want to be with the best, house cleaned and the best cook and the food in the fridge and the kids, amazing, and the work amazing. And like, we also have this myth of having it all. So tell us more about that. And first of all, do you know why we have that myth? Like, is that something in our DNA? Because I don't see men doing that. That's really something for women, I think. And also, how do we deal with that? Because it is an excellency trait, because we want always more. But having it all, like you said, is a myth. So how do we deal with that?
So first of all, I'm not the person who came up with the phrase that you can't have it all, you just can't have it all at the same time.
Right.
And I think that's important to remember, that we have a lot of chapters in our lives. In fact, studies have shown professionally, we have more chapters now than at any time in history. And that's important to remember. And I want to get into that a little bit more, but I think I'm older than you, but our generation was the first to be raised with this messaging that, we're working so hard at breaking the ceiling so that you can have it all. Right. And I think that's where the message comes from. And I think we have to honor and credit that work that was done, because there was a time when women couldn't have it all, just not at the same time. Right. And they couldn't make those choices. But here's at the core, being a leader means a certain amount of taking charge, stepping up, standing up, choosing to be a role model, choosing to set an example, not just doing. And being a leader means, and it's part of what Yael was speaking about, and it's true of any value-driven leadership. I know who I am. I know what gifts I have. I know what I'm meant to be giving in the world. I'm trying to navigate, as Batchen said, how am I, practically speaking, supposed to use my gifts to serve you, or to be the best employee, or to, be the best entrepreneur, right? That's a certain amount of self-awareness, and then proactively making decisions. So that's true of our values, and that should be driving what having it all means. Right. We need to define our own success and then stand up and say, this is going to be the model. So one way in which we can assert the centrality of our family, for example, is to have non-negotiable shutdown hours. Right. You will not be able to reach me from 7 to 9 p.m. And that is because I will be focusing on my family. And you can present that, and you can say that by saying, I'm really sorry. I know the client's really important and things come up, but from 7 to 9, you're just probably not going to be able to reach me because I have to deal with my family. Or you can say, one of the terms that's important for you to know is that I will not be reachable from 7 to 9. If something's an emergency, of course, you can always ping me and I can be flexible. But during those hours, I prioritize my family. And you should feel good and be reassured that in the same way they get my priority and focus from 7 to 9, that when I'm on work hours, your work and your clients get that same amount of focus and uninterrupted attention.
So important.
Same thing, but owning it as a leader and just saying, I don't need to apologize for this. I'm bringing you great value. This is part of, I compartmentalize, I focus on this, and then I focus on that, which is a mom skill.
Yes.
Right. And when I'm giving it to them, you may not be getting it right now, but then when it's your turn, you're getting that same undivided attention. You simply need to demonstrate leadership by owning it, right, and putting it forward in a positive way.
I love it.
So in terms of having it all, I think we all have to decide what is having it all. And part of the reason that I speak on this issue is because I lived in the States. I lived in Israel, then in the States, and now back in Israel. And I stopped working for 7 years. And there were people, almost exclusively women, who said, what's going to happen to your career, and your skills are going to atrophy, and how are you ever going to break back in? And if I were a man and I decided to go to graduate school, or I decided to take off and rescue turtles, right, for half a decade, I would come back and I would sell it and I would own it and look at this great, amazing experience. And I went from that to successfully building my own firm and having 5 other busy mothers, employees working for me and working with clients all over the world. It's possible. You just have to decide that you're going to frame what's success. Yes. And when you want to achieve it, and not do everything at the same time. So I think part of the battle is just believing that if I choose to focus on my family now, it doesn't mean my career is over forever. If you walk into an interview insecure and apologetic about the time that you spent focusing on your family, that's what will come across. And if you come in an interview knowing that helped you be the best employee for this position today because of whatever it was you were doing then that's exactly what will come across. And you don't have to apologize for whatever it is. Yeah. Because lots of people make choices. And when you say that men don't walk around with this myth, I think men do have it as a given, as a generality, that they can have it all, just not all at once. And it's not a thing for them. They don't have to do everything at the same time, and they can focus on what they choose. They just don't feel the same innate need for approval over it. And I think that is very often what gets in our way. Maybe that's something that female leadership can learn more from masculine leadership, because as you said, men and women need both, right? We need to learn what's best. I think that we bring tremendous amount of value. We bring empathy and compassion and listening skills and organizational skills as a mother to work. We just have to have the confidence to frame it that way.
Definitely. I love that. I think that when you explain both approaches, like one which is, oh, I'm so sorry, I won't be able to, and the other one is, this is it, matter of fact, describing that this is a reality, just like, with any other priorities. Like if I would go for, like you said, a doctorate or a PhD, and I would be, every night deciding to work on my studies, that would be my boundary too. I would say, I'm sorry, I can't work, or I'm not available. And I think you're right. I think that there are things that we can learn from the masculine leadership, and definitely this, not apologizing all the time. I think that this is a very, very characteristic, like a woman's thing, to always say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And we think that we're being nice, and we think that we are also pleasing people. But at the end of the day, we're not here to please. We're here to do our job and to be leaders and to decide what is our priority. So it really, really resonates what you're saying here. I have to say that I made the choice also, not for the same reason as you, but when I was a single mom, I couldn't, have my business. I knew I wanted to have a business, but I waited until my youngest was 18 until I could really go for, having a business. And that meant making a career choice in my life. But I think that we all have at some point to make those choices, and we have to be proud of them, not to apologize or say, oh, I'm so sorry that I didn't do this. No, because I know what I did and I know why I did it. And I think it's, and you're right, I think it's much easier today for our generation than it was for before. And I hope it's going to be even easier for the next generation, and it's only going to be easier and easier. Now, you said in one of your, quickly, you said that you were able to hire 5 women that there is a special power in hiring moms. So can you tell us more about that? Can you tell us more about what do you choose specifically to hire moms? Like, is that a criteria for you? And if it is, why? What do you think that moms are bringing to the table? Like, what is the? So you spoke about the special added value that we bring. So is this something special about mom?
Okay, great. Such fun. So first of all, I haven't only exclusively hired moms at all times. And I've had people work for me who are not yet moms who definitely said that it impacted them in terms of their choices when they do start a family. But I did make a choice when I went from working as a freelancer on my own to being a consultancy to hire moms. First of all, if you are offering a package with tremendous scheduling flexibility, most mothers will actually take a lower salary. So just as a business decision, I'm getting higher value because for a woman to know that she can define for me what her shutdown hours are going to be, whether it's 3 in the afternoon, is a huge advantage to them. That's of monetary value. That means that I can translate more value. Second of all, I feel like because that's a priority for me, if I have a team of moms working for me, they're going to respect when I need to shut down. They're going to carry the weight for me in the same way that I'm going to carry the weight for them. Again, I think it fits in with a non-apologetic, unique selling approach to my brand. If this is the energy and the vibe that I'm bringing to my clients, then the people working for me sharing that is only good for the overall feeling of the company. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't hire somebody who wasn't a mom, who was the best candidate for the job. But overall, as a team, I find that moms will find the fastest, most efficient, least nonsense, ego-less solution to a problem, because if the kids are hungry, they need dinner and they don't need it with the exact right utensil. They just want it on the table. And when you learn that skill and the skill of doing it anyway, which is something else I've spoken about, right? Because when you're a mom and you're tired, you do it anyway. And if you don't have all the tools you need, you do it anyway because you just don't have a choice, right? They need you at 4 a.m. and you have a big meeting in the morning and you get up at 4 a.m. because you have to. So we bring that. And I find that mothers also bring that to their clients. They will not say, oh, shouldn't this be that one? And can we have a meeting about it? And they'll just get it done. They'll just find the way to get it done, especially when empowered to do so. So the whole environment at my firm has been not an emphasis on reporting, not an emphasis on everything being necessarily 9 to 5, a lot of collaboration. Something is generally this person's primary responsibility, but they're not going to do it right now because somebody else needs to take over the lead for them. Bringing all of our feminine qualities, compassion and empathy and sensitivity to the table, making sure it's just very out there and it's a part of how we lead and it's part of how we serve our clients. In communications, vulnerability and sensitivity and being real actually help turn profit. That is part of where communications and that type of work actually can help with the bottom line. So for me, it's been a business win-win. It doesn't mean that that it's not with its challenges, but I think the clients get great value, especially when it's framed for them exactly that way.
Wow, amazing. Now, would you hear also like some, is it a challenge if you have a few people in your team, a few mothers in your team, and they all have issues with their kids at the same time? Like, does it happen that, you have to face the fact that everyone is a mother? So I don't know, let's say summer vacation, right? So everyone is less available, or the chagim, because everyone has to be there for their family. So do you have like a policy, an internal policy that says in the summer we work less, or we adapt our schedule with our team? Like how do you manage? Because if everyone has the same, priorities, then it could be a problem for the business.
It's a great question. First of all, the moms that I've hired were very big age span, which helps a lot. They don't necessarily all have the same issue. And I have to be very organized and communicative both in terms of pushing them to let me know about summer schedule, August schedule, vacation schedule, whenever schools have vacation, and really pushing to get that information ironed down ahead of time. I also have to be very clear and communicative with clients because they will understand if the firm is going to slow down for 2 weeks, just like they would with any consultant, as long as I'm managing those expectations well in advance. So I have to stay on top of that. The only time I found it to be really a problem, and it really became a challenge for me as a business owner, was during Corona. And that's because the policy in Israel was that anyone who wasn't working full time could get like 60% of their pay not to work.
Right.
So if your kids were not in school and you were going to earn 60% of what you'd earn with me with no expectations, if you were a mom, it basically, the government was telling you it didn't pay to work. And that made it very challenging for me. And everybody dealt with their own challenges during Corona, and some of my clients couldn't handle, PR during Corona anyway. And we made it through, but that was very frustrating to have people say, I want to keep working for you. I really do. And this is just not doable. Like I don't know when the kids are going back to school. My heart broke for them.
Corona was really an exception, right?
The other thing I want to say, just in terms of a business owner and a manager, when you give your employees that room to be a parent, then when they can come back on and they've had to take 2 days because their kid was sick and they weren't, they work so much harder than other people. The gratitude and appreciation that you are not expected to check your life at the door comes across in just the value of the employee. When you honor who they are as a whole person. And I think there's something really important as a takeaway from that, because we have to bring that as employees and we have to honor that as employers, right? Yes. As female leaders on both sides. That is something you can also say to a boss. Yes, I may need to take a day for my 3-year-old, but when I do, it's gonna, if you choose to be the kind of boss that chooses to hire people with those kinds of needs, the employee loyalty and satisfaction that you will get back is going to pay you back in spades. It's a worthwhile investment. You have to be brave enough to make that choice.
Definitely. I can only, applaud you on that. I know that my business manager is from Ukraine. And so I don't need to say, what the situation has been the past few years now. We thought it was going to be a few months. And it wasn't Corona, but it was a challenge of its own. And she has also 2 little kids. And it was also a priority for me to make sure that she was okay, of course, and that I would continue to give her her salary, even if she couldn't always work, because, she was in a situation where she couldn't. And then the way that she is prioritizing, and the way if I need something or when I need it, and the way the connection that we created and is amazing. And so I definitely, and this is what I teach my client also when they hire someone, that, you need to look at the whole person, whether, they have kids or whether they have problems. Sometimes you don't have kids, but you also have other challenges and other priorities. And you want to have people that are fulfilled and happy and good, in their lives, so that they can give you the best. So it's a choice. It's definitely a choice. I see that a lot of people are reacting to the closing hours. I love the non-negotiable hours. Closing hours are important for sanity. So the closing hour is exactly what I struggle with. Not sure. Hannah is saying closing hours is exactly what I struggle with. So I would love for you for the last question. Can you give a tip to those women who, in those cases, I'm probably sure it's with their clients and not with their boss, because they're all business owners. But how can you give a way or a tip on how to express that, closing hours without apologizing, with it, by being really being assertive? Can you give a tip to people for whom it's difficult to say, okay, those are my closing hours?
Sure. Handle it like a mom. When your kids do not accept a particular answer, they just keep at you and they just keep trying, and then they'll try in a different way to get a yes. And you have to have the confidence and the inner confidence to know that you are right and stand firm. And you have to not look at the message, and you have to not respond. Or think strategically. How do you designate for them when it's really an emergency? Like you could say to them, if it's a genuine emergency, then call me once. And when I don't answer, call me back, and don't leave me a WhatsApp, and I'll respond. And hopefully they'll respect that. But most of it is because we don't maintain that confidence, and we don't stand firm, and we have to teach people. We have to teach them through leadership. You just have to. I struggle with it also. Like, do not contact me on Saturday night. I get contacted on Saturday night, and then clients and people I work with say, "Well, you didn't have to read it Saturday night," and they're right. But then I have to not respond. I have to not read it Saturday night. It's on me. And it can take 6 months of being firm. Have somebody really respect that. And I think there's as a parent, again, you have to go inside to figure out where's the balance between the flexibility of the moment, right? Reading time and place, while at the same time you really have to set a precedent. You really have to teach people in the way you do as a parent firmly that this is a real thing.
Perfect. Wow. Thank you so much, Rachel. And you also have a gift in our gift page. I know that people already contacted you even before the interview, and I know you only have a few spots. So those are very precious gifts that I hope people are going to enjoy. And thank you. This discussion was so important, really, for boundaries as mothers, but it goes for any boundary that we put in our business. And I think you're right. It's really by being first, having the self-confidence and being sure that what we want to do is exactly that, and then we know how to communicate it. So thank you so much.
And thank you for sharing all of the wonderful speakers with us. It's been a pleasure, Nana.
Yeah, I'm enjoying myself too. Thank you, Rachel. We're going to move to our next speaker. Type in the chat, what is your